Well, today is Wednesday, the 20th of August, and I picked these on Monday evening, and this is Wednesday afternoon. And I got 2.5 bags of Sweet Millions, and there was 51 on that last plant in the row that's been so prolific. And I got a bag of 4th of July's, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 Better Boys. So far, it's been a great year for Sweet Millions. It's been a really pretty good year for 4th of July's, and I would have to say that the Better Boys have not produced like they would normally produce, and that bag has cucumbers in it. And there's still 2 more on the vine I got to go pick. Well, it's Sunday, the 24th of August. Here's my new grapevine. It's coming along pretty good, and it attached itself over here. And I took one of my nylon pantyhose ties and loosely tied it there. See, it's a lot of slack in it. And what you're trying for is you want your grapevine main shoot to be straight as you can, rather than crooked. And they were tied up too, but see, the other one's a little more straight. And what you're trying to do the first year is just to get to that wire. And then on a normal grape, you would cut it off and get another shoot to come up to this wire. And you would have a shoot going both ways and a shoot going to that wire, and then one going up here, and you'd have 4 on this tier. And the watermelons and cantaloupes are doing fine. You can start to see the watermelons a lot easier. And I did make a comment that it's nice to be walking around here and see one poking its head up through the leaves, which it was doing. The cantaloupes, these 2 and the one on the other side, were the first planted, so they're dying back quicker. We got a little disease in it, but they've been there a while, and we still need to pick them. This week we actually threw away a bag of Sweet Millions because we couldn't find enough people to take them. And a little while ago, when the wind was really blowing, that one right there, the leaf, I said, you know, all of a sudden you'll see one showing up through the leaves. Well, those leaves were bent back from the wind, and we got a cluster of them in here. There's still a lot of cukes to pick right here. Look at the 4th of July's that have to be picked. Now, it howled last night, and it knocked some of these Better Boys on the ground. 4th of July's really cling to the vine pretty good. You don't get a lot of them dropped off. Sweet Millions will drop some. And when we get this many and we keep picking them and picking them and picking them, after a while you get tired of eating them, and nobody wants them when you give them away. And if they drop to the ground, we just let them stay there. The okra is growing and setting pods, but it's that's the only one. Those 2 is the only ones really produced anything. And see, those pods are too old because they weren't big enough. And you can see there's some squash in there and some that I missed when I came down here to pick. And they just get really big on us. And you can see my powdery mildews come back because it rained and drizzled off and on for 2 days, and cloudy and overcast. And the beans are getting big enough to pick. Lord only knows how we're going to pick them. There's a ton in the middle there, I'm sure. We're hoping that most of them will be on the top and we can reach across and do the sides. And the corn, you can tell it's leaning because it has been howling. I was afraid to even come out here earlier because you'd never hear me over the noise. And hopefully all my pollen's not blowing over there and it's getting to my silks. And normally when you do this, you start seeing a lot of pollen on the leaves. But between the wind blowing and the misty and light rain, the leaves don't have any pollen on them. My bride's second pepper is almost all red, and she's got one turning in there. And this is my prize cherry that I'm hoping to get 500 plus tomatoes on it. I came down here Wednesday and picked, I think it was 51 more. And these red ones here might give me up to I don't know, 460. So more than likely I'll get it, except we're not getting a whole lot of new growth up here. But I think there's probably enough, there's enough green ones on here and red ones on here to get to 500, which would really be a good deal. And this diva cucumber, it probably grows a lot better in a greenhouse because that's what it's designed for. But the ones that are suffering the worst have been the divas since the start off. But you can see that's just an old vine, and this is not an old vine. This is an old vine. But see, that's a newer vine, and it's starting to show its age. And you can see that it's slowly getting disease on it. But we are giving cukes away, you know, bag at a time. Everything I picked Wednesday, I should have brought some from home. Everything I picked Wednesday, I went around to a few of my neighbors here at the river and gave them everything that I picked. I did a little video of them before I left, and that's just primarily for us to know how many we picked off of it. And these 4th of Julys, this is why I tell you, we love it. It's a burpee. Hadn't been out that long. But see the tomatoes on it? And we picked a lot off of it. And the better boys haven't done as well as normal, I'll be honest with you. They should have put out more tomatoes. The problem is it's been cold. This is the 5th straight week. Nobody's talking about the cold weather. I don't want to get political, but maybe it would interfere with the global warming going on, because when it first was announced 5 or 6 weeks ago, this big gigantic Arctic blast, autumn, fall, and then summertime, it was a big story, and it's repeated itself every week now for 5 weeks. I've been out here in the garden, and I'm not using a sweat rag, and I don't have any water on my clothes. It is 81 degrees, and it's going down to 57 tonight. Well, it's supposed to, normally it wouldn't go under 70. And I wonder if anybody else has seen it. Some of these leaves on these trees are starting to turn, and that doesn't usually happen in late September, October. And I think that these plants think it's fall, and that's what my problems are in here. And those beans are setting 3 weeks later, and it's because it's too cold. It's just not hot during the day, and it goes under 70 every night 4 or 5 days in a row, gets fairly warm and repeats itself, and it's done it 5 times. And the cherries are still producing more than we can eat and give away, and they really are. You can use the Victrolio strainer, but you have to strain a lot of tomatoes just to get a little bit, and they're fairly juicy, so you could make juice maybe. And I haven't picked the squash yet, but you can see them in there. It's a little hard to pick. We got that so it'll open up and I can walk down the other side and reach halfway across, and we can reach over here with the other halfway across. And since we put a lot in the freezer, I hate to pull up a healthy plant. Looks like we're finally losing leaves on this plant, so that'll be our first casualty. But you can see the powdery mildews come back. No matter how much you spray, it'll keep coming back. And I could spray it again, but we're debating, and I'm getting nymphs, bugs. So we might just pull this, and that way we can get to the beans. Well, today is Sunday the 24th of August. That's the squash we picked. With that bag of cucumbers, that bag of cucumbers, that bag of cucumbers, that bag of 4th of July's, that bag of 4th of July's. The better boys haven't been doing as great as normal. We usually get most of them that size. We're getting a little splitting because we've had some off and on heavy rains. And I have 4 bags of cherry tomatoes. And off of the first plant, I picked 46, and then I used the bag to fill the rest of it up. And earlier in the week I picked 51, and I had 381, and that makes 478. So I need 22 more tomatoes off of that last plant to get 500 tomatoes off of one plant. And there's several in that row that are giving me, I'm probably at 350 to 400 or more. And my bride got another red pepper, and I missed a couple squash. Now, that's my arm, folks. How do I miss that for what? 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That is a serious squash. Unfortunately,